know the exact feeling. The weekend finally arrives, you have absolutely no plans, and your body is completely drained. But your brain is sprinting at full speed. You try to sit on the couch and relax, but suddenly a conversation from days ago comes back, and you start analyzing every word and tone. People look at you and throw out the usual advice. Just relax. Just stop thinking. But the truth is, having a mind without an off switch makes it scientifically unrealistic to simply command yourself to stop. Today, we are going to explore the neuroscience of why your free time often feels exhausting and how to actually force your nervous system to rest so you can reclaim your weekends. Welcome to Third Eye Awakens, where we build minds that think faster, deeper, and smarter than the crowd. To understand why weekends can feel so short and draining, we first have to call the problem by its clinical name: maladaptive rumination. When you try to unwind on a Saturday, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that acts as the powerful CEO in charge of logical thinking, gets overwhelmed by internal chatter from a background system called the default mode network, or DMN. This combination creates a mind that is basically always online, constantly reviewing the past while drafting responses for conversations that haven't even happened yet. Your brain becomes like a Ferrari with a powerful V8 engine, but your foot is stuck on the gas while the car is in neutral. The engine is roaring, the wheels are spinning, and you are burning through fuel, but the car doesn't move forward an inch. Your weekend exhaustion comes directly from the intense pressure of that engine constantly revving. But why can't you just force yourself to chill out? In cognitive psychology, there is a trap called the illusion of mental progress. Your mind tricks you into thinking it is solving a hard problem, but you are just running on a treadmill. The shocking neuroscience fact behind this is that your brain is being driven by dopamine. Every time you run a scenario in your head or analyze a possible risk, your brain actually rewards itself by releasing tiny hits of dopamine for the act of thinking itself. This mechanism turns overthinking into an addiction loop. The more you think, the more you get paid with chemical rewards, making it scientifically impossible to use willpower alone to shut the system down. For many of us, this inability to relax is deeply rooted in childhood. If you grew up in an environment where outcomes felt unpredictable, or where you had to take on adult responsibilities at a young age, a phenomenon called parentification, your developing brain learned a logical survival strategy: anticipate everything. As a result, your nervous system got stuck in a permanent fight-or-flight mode. And here is the cruelest paradox. When things are too quiet on the weekend, your nervous system interprets that peace as danger, because silence in your past was often just the calm before the storm. Calmness feels suspicious. When there is no crisis to handle, your brain creates one through anxiety, pushing your cortisol levels back up to what feels familiar and safe. Because letting go feels dangerous, you lose the ability to reach a psychological state called flow, a state of pure joy where you become so focused on an activity that you lose track of time. Instead of truly playing or resting, you turn your weekends and vacations into rigidly managed to-do lists, bracing yourself just to maintain control. If you have an exceptionally high IQ or are a highly sensitive person, your weekends might be drained by a completely different issue: a leaky sensory gate. Most people have a filtering system in the brain's thalamus that blocks out unimportant background noise. But for highly sensitive individuals, this gatekeeper is essentially asleep. Every physical stimulus, from a ticking clock to the strong perfume of someone standing nearby, hits the brain at maximum volume. If you spend your weekend going to crowded places, your nervous system absorbs all of the emotional and physical energy around you, acting as an emotional sponge. To actually recover and make your time off feel restorative, you require a clinical process called allostatic load reduction. This means you don't need an action-packed weekend. You need to sit in a dark, quiet room with no one touching you and no one asking you anything. giving your body time to clear out the built-up cortisol from the week. So how do we break out of this prison and actually rest? Top therapists don't waste time trying to force you to shut down your thoughts. Instead, you have to change your relationship with them.
Step 1 is cognitive defusion. Instead of getting pulled into a toxic thought, take a step back and adjust your inner language. Instead of thinking, I'm a failure, say to yourself, I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. This small shift separates you from the thought and moves neural activity away from the amygdala, the center of panic, and back to the prefrontal cortex.
Step 2 is using the language of the body to retrain your nervous system. You can use the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Actively pause and find 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 sounds you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Because your brain's default mode network cannot do 2 things at once, forcing it to focus on strong physical signals from the real world completely pauses the imaginary conversations draining your energy. Finally, implement the 15 minutes of no responsibility rule. Give yourself at least 15 minutes every single day to do something completely pointless, like scribbling on paper or staring at the ceiling. When guilt shows up, smile at it and tell yourself you are training your brain to learn that the world is still safe even when you aren't controlling it. Overthinking your free time is not a personality flaw. It is evidence of a mind with extremely high processing power that worked incredibly hard to survive. True adulthood isn't about being perfectly productive all weekend. It is having the courage to put down that heavy backpack and finally allow your mind to rest. Which of these psychological traps do you find yourself falling into on your days off? Share your story in the comments below. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me, and I'll see you in the next video.